Straight ahead on CCX News, inching closer to the polls closing. We'll blanket the northwest suburbs for a look at voter turnout. Plus, what's the mood of the voter heading into Election Day? We catch up with the electorate outside local polling places. And later, we're seeing them pop up everywhere. So what's the story behind all of these storage facilities? CCX News starts right now. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Early voting turnout set records for a midterm election. The question now is, will Election Day turnout be just as strong? We have team coverage of the local vote. Delane Cleveland is in Brooklyn Park. Meredith Hackler is in Plymouth. But first, we begin with Sonia Goins, who is standing by in Crystal. Hi, Sonia.
Hi, Shannon. I'm at Neal Elementary in Crystal, where there are, instead of one precinct, there are three. Officials had to make some last-minute decisions due to construction at previous polling places. They tell me that there's been a steady stream of voters coming in and out, and this is reflective of other cities in our area. You can see behind me, folks are casting their votes, but they're not only voting for city leaders, but they're also casting a vote for Congress. One of the busiest congressional races in the country will be decided by voters here in the Northwest Metro. The third congressional race is ground zero in the battle for control of the United States House of Representatives. Democrats need 23 seats to flip the House. Five-term Republican Erik Paulsen is trying to keep his job, while his challenger, Dean Phillips, who is a first-time candidate, hopes to become the first Democrat to hold the third congressional seat since 1961.
The polls for the 3rd Congressional District have been very close. They've generally shown the Democrat up by a slight amount, but it's within the margin of error. Frankly, I don't know how this race is going to turn out. I think it's going to come down to Election Day, who turns out to vote. If you see Democrats not turning out in the way that are expected, Erik Paulsen can clearly win this race. On the other hand, big turnout by Democrats could end the congressional career of Erik Paulsen.
Now, the polls close at 8 p.m. and officials want me to remind folks that if you are in line and the polls close, you still can vote, so stay in line. Now, for more voter turnout, let's go to Eric Nelson.
I think my vote really means something, and I think young people need to get out to vote.
Voters came early and often to Precinct 4 in Brooklyn Center. The midterms are clearly a high-stakes election in this inner-ring suburb.
There's a lot of issues to vote about. There's a lot of issues about the border. There's issues about the safety net. There's issues about the 1% and the 99%. The 99%, we're not getting no deals. We're not getting nothing.
For some Brooklyn Center residents, this election was all about rejecting the policies of President Donald Trump and voting against anyone aligned with his views.
He's supposed to be making the country great again. He's not doing it. He's making a farce of the presidency.
His behavior it's a bad influence for our country, for our kids. You don't want your kids going around being rude and all that.
The voter turnout for this midterm has been a lot higher than I've seen.
Sarah Wilkes is a Brooklyn Center election judge.
I got here about 5:30 this morning, and I expect to leave probably about 10:30.
Wilkes has worked every voting day since 2008 and says the turnout for this midterm resembles a presidential race.
Definitely a lot more people are engaged this year than that have been for other midterm elections.
People want changes, and that's why they're out voting.
Meanwhile, in Osseo, I voted stickers were popular at City Hall.
Well, I think it's important to vote if I want anything to change.
A steady stream of people came out to cast their votes. They were lured to the polls by many issues.
I really wanted to see more about gun control and that. Yeah, I think that's getting to be pretty important.
This election cycle has been acrimonious and polarizing, and there has been a tidal wave of campaign advertising.
My mailbox is so full of those cardboard things that I can't even get my mail out of the box. I have to take it out piece by piece.
Now, we don't know yet exactly how this election is going to turn out, but we do know this. The campaign rhetoric is going to ratchet down, and all of these signs will soon be gone. On the voting trail, I'm Eric Nelson, CCX News.
Thank you, Eric. Now to that Brooklyn Center mayoral race, which couldn't get much tighter than the last time the candidates faced each other. Take a look at this. This was the 2014 election results. Mayor Tim Wilson won by just 145 votes over challenger Mike Elliott. The two have a rematch this year. Wilson is bidding for a fourth term. Elliott, an immigrant from Liberia, currently serves on the Brooklyn Center Charter Commission. Besides Brooklyn Center, there's contested mayoral races in Plymouth, Maple Grove, and Brooklyn Park. Delane Cleveland is in Brooklyn Park, and he joins us now with more. Delane?
Hi, Shannon. I'm at Brooklyn Park City Hall, and there's a few different races that we'll be paying attention to tonight. 3 city council races and the mayor's office are up for grabs. In the West District, incumbent Bob Maida is looking to hold on to his council seat. He's going up against Winfred Russell. The Central District will have a brand new representative after Rich Gates decided not to run for re-election. The candidates for that seat are Tanya West Hafner and Christian Erickson. And in the East District, incumbent Terry Parks is trying to hold on to his council seat. His challenger is Marta Yakovleva. Meanwhile, Jeff Lundy, who has been Brooklyn Park's mayor since 2011, is up for re-election. He's facing off against Hollis Winston. So it's possible that we could see a very different group running the show here in Brooklyn Park. Starting tonight at 9 p.m., I'll have live interviews with several of those candidates, along with a state legislator who can talk about the potential shift in power at the state capitol. Reporting live in Brooklyn Park, Delane Cleveland, CCX News.
Thank you, Delane. We turn our attention now to Plymouth, which had the second highest number of early voters among all cities in Hennepin County, behind only Minneapolis. Meredith Hackler is in Plymouth, and she joins us now with more. Meredith?
Shannon, the city of Plymouth at this time has just under 16,000 absentee votes. Now, this has been a trend within the city of Plymouth for several election cycles. And here to chat with me about how voter turnout was today is Sandy Engdahl, the city clerk of Plymouth. So how has voter turnout been today?
Voter turnout has been very brisk.
Okay. And when you say brisk, do you think it's higher than in years past for a non-presidential election?
Yes, definitely. And I think it's probably going to be a little less than a presidential, but it's inching up that way.
Do you feel like there is more, I guess, momentum or passion in this election than years past for a non-presidential one?
Yes, definitely there is. There's a lot of interest from voters in getting out and voting and making a difference.
And as I was talking about earlier, Plymouth is known for having a higher voter turnout for kind of a smaller city. Why do you feel that Plymouth voters are so inspired to come to the polls?
Plymouth is just a very well-educated community. They're very civic-minded. They like to get out and exercise their right to vote, and every year they turn out.
So as of right now, it's just about 4:15. How are voter numbers for right now?
Voter numbers are looking really good because we still have the brisk period coming up, usually between the hours about 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock. We have it early in the morning, then we have it again. The numbers will really be coming in, I think, pretty strong tonight.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sandy. And the polls are open until 8 o'clock today. If you're not registered, you can register at your polling place. I did it today. It only took about 15 minutes. Live here in Plymouth, Meredith Hackler, CCX News.
All right. Thank you, Meredith. Now, there's not just candidate races to decide this election day. There are also a couple of referendums, too. First, there's a school levy referendum for voters in the Robbinsdale School District. It would bring in nearly $6 million in additional revenue annually for 10 years. For the average homeowner, taxes would go up roughly $12.50 per month. Without it, the district says difficult classroom cuts would be necessary. Meanwhile, voters in Brooklyn Park will decide whether to support a $26 million park bond referendum. If the referendum is approved, it would cost a median valued homeowner $4.84 more a month. The money would be used to pay for park improvements. And a reminder, CCX News starts live local coverage at 9 p.m. The polls close at 8 p.m. and we'll have results on the bottom of your screen as soon as they are available, so please join us. Still ahead, the story behind all of those storage facilities popping up everywhere. We take a closer look up next. Plus, the Champlin Park volleyball team is set for its 5th consecutive state tournament appearance. But first, colder than normal temperatures. Friday, we may not reach above freezing. The older we get, the more possessions we tend to accumulate. And with Minnesota's aging baby boomer population, families have to figure out what to do with all of that stuff. Delane Cleveland found one industry that's reaping the benefits.
Good evening, Mayor, council members.
This past March, the Brooklyn Center City Council approved plans to build on a vacant plot of land along Highway 100.
This property we have had on the market for quite some time, and the city had owned it. And so I'm happy to see that it's being put to use.
Today, work is underway on what will eventually be a 4-story, 112,000 square foot commercial storage building. And about 4 miles away in Crystal, plans are in place to transform the Thriftway site into mini storage units. Just across the street, a developer will demolish the vacant Herzing University building to make way for another mini storage facility.
We're excited about that project as well, just because it's a vacant site, and we're glad to see some redevelopment of that site as well.
It's part of a growing trend of storage buildings popping up across the Twin Cities.
There have been quite a few new facilities developed over the last 5 years or so.
Chris KIRWAN is vice president of ACORN Mini Storage, a local self-storage company that will soon open its 14th location.
Most of our customers are storing household items. That's probably about 80–85% of our customers.
KIRWAN says demographic shifts play a big role.
This is a standard 10x10 unit.
As baby boomers are downsizing out of large single-family homes.
And they have lots of stuff that was in those single-family homes. And at the same time, their kids, often millennials, maybe aren't quite ready or interested in taking on all that stuff.
As a result, it creates a spike in demand. The Brooklyn Park ACORN Mini Storage Facility opened 2 years ago, and they already have plans to expand.
Americans, by and large, value their stuff and like to have their stuff, and in general, they don't like to part with it. And I think the number of self-storage facilities we have around here and around the country serves as a testament to that.
In Brooklyn Park, Delaney Cleveland, CCX News.
Brooklyn Park's ACORN mini storage facility should have 3 more storage buildings open by next summer. Experts predict that the Twin Cities will reach the peak of mini storage facilities in 2019. Still ahead, the biggest fundraising campaign of the year for a local nonprofit. But first, the Champlin Park volleyball team takes aim at its first state title this week. John Jacobson is in next.
It's become a familiar way to end the season. The Champlin Park volleyball team is in the state tournament for a 5th straight year. As Jay Wilcox reports, the Rebels are ready to pursue a title.
One thing's for sure, it doesn't get old. Many of the Champlin Park players have already played in the state tournament, but it's just as special when making a return visit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's different every year, but this year especially, we have a really great group, and I'm really excited for this opportunity. It's super exciting. There's so many people, like, you'll look around and you'll be like, wow, like, there's a lot of people here. It just feels really cool.
But we just remind them, like, some of you have been very fortunate to play there a number of times, and some of you, this is your first time there, and you may not get back. So it doesn't matter if it's your first or fourth or whatever it is in between. Take it all in, make some memories, and then we'll go from there.
The Rebels know it's a balancing act, being very focused at the state tournament while still playing relaxed.
I think just coming together as a team off the court as well just helps us to really relax, but also stay engaged and really connect with each other. That's been the struggle throughout the season. I mean, we have a very intense team, especially when we're competing here at practice, and it's hard to find that balance between having fun and just playing hard. And so we've just been working on that and keeping each other focused at the same time.
Champlin Park is the number 2 seed for the Class 3A tournament. Their first opponent is another regular state visitor, Moorhead. The Rebels lost to the Spuds in the state quarterfinals last season, but beat Moorhead early this fall.
They have a history down there, they know what to expect, and then they play a tough schedule. You know, sometimes people think, oh, it's an outstate team, they don't play who they play. They come down here all the time, play a tough schedule, so they're going to be prepared, and we're just going to see what we can do.
Champlin Park's faced most of the top teams in Minnesota during the season, including top seed Egan. They know they're battle-tested and are ready to show it.
I think we're definitely up there with those teams. They're very good teams, and I think if we just go out and play our game, we definitely have a really good chance.
They've come close before, but we'll see if this is the year that Champlin Park can break through with its first title. Jay Wilcox, CCX Sports.
Champlin Park meets Moorhead at 11 a.m. Thursday in the Class 3A quarterfinals. The high school football season ended last Friday night for the Benilde St. Margaret's football team. On this week's Sports Jam show on CCX, Jason Milillo profiles Red Knights senior linebacker John Whitmore. Here's a part of that story.
For most of the 2018 high school football season, Benilde St. Margaret's linebacker John Whitmore has been in pain.
He couldn't raise his hands above his shoulders. I mean, it was that bad.
Whitmore has played this season with torn labrums in both shoulders. Despite the pain, Whitmore racked up 61 tackles for the Red Knights in 6 games. But by week 7 of the regular season, he couldn't do it anymore.
The tears when he came to me to say, I can't I can't play, coach. I'm done. And I was like, you don't know. I said, let's just take it day by day. Let's see what happens.
Returning for the playoffs was Whitmore's goal, but that seemed like a long shot until it wasn't.
I always wanted to come back. It was always my goal, but I had to get cleared by the doctor first. The doctor said it was the second time he's ever seen somebody, or he would be able to clear somebody from an injury like that in his entire career as a shoulder specialist. So that was really unique. Didn't expect that. So that gave us a lot of momentum going into the Holy Angels game.
You know, he had a great game that night. He had 14, 15 tackles, and he was, you know, it absolutely jacked our team up before we came out against Holy Angels that night.
You can see the rest of that story and more this week on Sports Jam. It airs Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. and Wednesday at 3:30, 6:30, and 9:30 p.m. here on CCX and online at ccxmedia.org. That's all for sports. Shannon, back to you.
All right, thank you, John. When we come back, why our chilly weather serves as a timely reminder for an important fundraiser. And finally, while many places are bustling for elections, volunteers in Plymouth are preparing for the 23rd annual Interfaith Outreach Sleepout.
Oh, it's exciting. It's a bustle inside. We're getting all kinds of details checked off the list, but getting everything ready for our big community sleepout this Saturday, which kicks off the Sleepout campaign.
The Sleepout campaign encourages people to have a bedless night or sleep outside in order to raise awareness and money for homeless families. The annual Sleepout campaign is crucial. It raises over 40% of Interfaith Outreach's operating budget. This year, organizers hope to raise $2.4 million to help more than 2,000 families in need.
So it's not at all unusual for families that we work with to be spending 65 or 70% of their budgets on housing when 30% is considered affordable. And when budgets are that tight, it's hard to make ends meet. It's just hard to get by.
A community-wide sleepout will happen on Saturday all over the Twin Cities. For more information, visit Interfaith Outreach's website, which is iocp.org. And before we go today, a few pictures of the polls on Election Day.